Hello and welcome to the QPR podcast. I'm David Fraser. We've been busy discussing, before we pressed record and started speaking to you, the correct pronunciation of the new Chelsea manager. And I'm only mentioning that at the top of the podcast because it gives us an opportunity to talk in a way that we haven't necessarily been able to talk before on this podcast. So Chris Mendes, for the benefit of everyone, how do we pronounce the name of the new Chelsea manager?
Antonio Conte.
There we go. Okay, ding.
Do you know what?
What?
They suit each other well.
I'm David Fraser, QPR fan. There are four of us around this desk today talking about Queen's Park Rangers. To my left is the esteemed... Can I call you esteemed?
Yeah, call me what you want.
Cool. Well, I wasn't talking about you. The esteemed...
Those who can't see what he just pointed at me.
ITV journalist, Chris Mendes.
Hello.
And we have from Independent R's, Funky Flowers, and the QPR podcast.
Yeah. Founder.
Paul Finney.
Co-founder. So is Chris, you forgot co-founder.
Co-founder. We're all co-founders, apart from our newest guest, mate.
But you're the bigger founder.
Well, I do need to lose. I have put on a little Easter weight, that's true.
Yes.
We also have making his
Didn't do
podcast...
anything for Lent, did you?
Sorry?
You didn't certainly cut anything for Lent, did you?
Well, you know I don't do all that. We making his podcast debut, we're very pleased to welcome Lee Hughes to the podcast.
Oh, God.
Thank you very much.
It's not Lee Hughes. It was just a cheap joke about an American accent. QPR fan, R Block sitter, Paul Frick.
Correct.
Welcome to the podcast. Right, okay.
As opposed to our block stander in Old City Ground.
You're not wearing earphones. We can't hear you if you do that.
So as opposed to our block stander in Old City Ground.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay.
Well, they do usually stand kind of right by the exit blocking.
We're winding them up.
Can we carry on or?
Do what you want. It's your
Okay.
podcast. We just hit a bit of numbers up. Bit like our defence on Saturday. Friday.
We played on Friday. We'll talk about that in a minute. But if you're listening to the podcast for the first time, thank you for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at QPR Pod. You can search for us on Facebook, and if you click like there, you'll hear all about all our news updates. Search for the new QPR podcast. We really need to take that word "new" off it because we've been around for ages. And you can listen to all our old episodes at qprpod.co.uk. Okay.
Do you know what? I think you're the best anchor man we've ever had in this podcast.
You're going to do a joke about Anchor, aren't you?
No, we've already done the Chelsea manager. You're fine.
Paul, start us off about Friday night. Queen's Park Rangers 2, Middlesbrough 3.
I like the way you keep saying Queen's Park Rangers. It feels almost old-fashioned, and as it should be, because I think too many times QPR...
Don't start on the date.
Oh,
Don't start on the date.
It's 86. Carry on. No, it was Jekyll and Hyde and Jekyll and Hyde again and weird. I think you can see what we're trying to do for next season. You can see how they're trying to develop the side. There's real potential in that side. But it seems to be without Clint Hill holding it together, the defence kind of goes like a wee bit Mr. Magoo at times, all over the place. But that said, talking of Mr. Magoo, the lines person on Friday
It's a real up-to-date reference there. Just Harry, our engineer, is probably 20, I'm guessing. Do you know who Mr. Magoo is?
No idea.
And how old are you?
24.
Okay, no idea. So good up-to-date reference there. Carry on, Paul.
I am 46. I'm very old.
And the rest. Yeah, carry on.
No, it was just some
Yeah,
freaking people.
yeah.
No, I think we you can talk younger than me, and you look like... Anyway, the thing is that what we did do on Friday is we came back into the game when, if that was early in the game, that game could have ended up 6-0. So that was a massive plus, that we have got some fight in the side, that we will. But the defending at times was absolutely diabolical, and that needs to be addressed because we can't keep dragging Clint Hill into it to make everything better. There's got to be someone else there who can share the responsibility, who can be a leader. And I'm not sure about Anu at right back. Would it not be better to play Henry there? I don't know.
Well, in about 5 minutes' time, we have an interview with one of the greatest right-backs ever to play for QPR,
That could have
David
been linked.
Bardsley.
Do you know what? We could have worked with that in the pub, but we didn't.
And I fully intend on asking him that question about
sorry.
the specialities associated with the role. So I'm glad you brought it up.
But by the way, I watched Cherry's goal back on because when you're there, you don't appreciate it sometimes. Whew. That is class.
Well, they both were. They were
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
worldies, as they say.
Well, Jim-
Weren't they, Chris?
They were, and that was
But by the way,
the
sorry-
most disappointing thing about the game. Not
Sorry,
that-
Chris.
Go on.
Why do people keep slagging off Mackie? Can someone enlighten me?
I didn't know that people were slagging him off.
Everyone
but
around me
I
just
think
slagged
that's
Mackie
a
off all the time.
continuation from his first spell at the club. He did. People did get a bit annoyed about him, but he does. You just have to accept that at times, he's not going to dribble past people and do an amazing skill like other wide players or other attacking midfielders we have. But he works a lot harder than most people, and he has got that kind of goal in him as well. He's scored plenty of goals like that for us.
In fact,
in the
he was a
past.
brilliant right back. Going back to the question. I mean, carry on. Sorry,
But
Chris.
yeah, but that's there's a point of thing about the game because I think we dominated possession for a lot of it, and our general play was just as good, if not better, than Middlesbrough. But they didn't have to work hard for their goals. All three of
No.
them could have been avoided, and that's the disappointing thing. I think when Smithies had saved the penalty, I think that's the point when you needed a player like Clint Hill and or just someone to organise the defence and make sure they're switched on. But just their mentality just switched off for a second, and it was just too easy for Middlesbrough to score 20 seconds later.
Well, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about do we keep Clint Hill on? And I think given after sort of the, do we keep him on for next season? I think after the performance on Friday, the situation is so, it needs such a revamp. I think you almost have to keep Clint Hill on, don't you? Paul? Second, Paul?
Oh, sorry. I don't know. We can't even call him Paul F, can you?
No. Frick and Vinny.
Frick.
I've heard that
Frick.
before. A different manner. Carry on, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. What was the question?
Well, it was just that the defence, the kind of Paul calls it the Jekyll and Hyde, but there's sort of almost a team of two halves, really, and that actually from after the defence, we're looking quite good in quite good shape, but there's serious cause for concern with the back four.
Well, yeah. I mean, it does seem to keep coming back to the leadership and someone being vocal presence in the back four, which Clint definitely offers and continues to offer. And I like Paul's shout out to Henry at right back. I think that was one of my favorite positions he played when they moved him over there for a couple of times. He's been great. Recently in mid, he's been quite well as. Also, he's got a foot in.
Yeah. Well, listen, we've done well because I think we've been recording for 7 minutes, talked about right back, and we haven't mentioned Danny Simpson yet.
That was a terrible miss yesterday. He should have scored and should have been sent off.
Do you know he's close to being in the PFA team this season?
He's been like deified, this guy. He's going to get sainthood, because of that sort of...
Why did we sell him? What was the reason given when he was sold at the time? Because it was quite cheap as well. He was sold. Not only was he sold ridiculously when he was one of our better players, but the fee we got for him was stupid.
I think the
Redknapp
reason
sold
was
him.
Harry Redknapp.
And he also sold Mackie. We've got one of them back. But I don't think Simpson was amazing for us. I thought he was pretty steady. He's just part of an amazing story at Leicester at the moment.
Here's a question, Chris. Did you notice him? No. Which means he was a good right back because he did his job.
He was steady.
what I was
He was steady. He was okay. But we were in the Premier League at the time when we sold him, weren't we? I'm pretty sure we were. But I mean, he was not in the team at the time. Who was it? Who did we have at right back? Was it the
We didn't really have options, did we?
Chilean Isla?
Oh,
Mauricio,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
But it's probably because at the end of the day, Harry Redknapp wouldn't know a good player unless he came. Even if he came into the room and said, "Hello, my name is Pele Diego Best," he really wouldn't know a good player. So
Simpson's raised his game recently, but he also cost Leicester the game at Arsenal. Got sent off. They were winning at a time, I think he's done quite well. He's had a good season, but he's just part of a much bigger story there.
I think Leicester fans owe us the biggest thank you ever if they win the league.
What, because of Danny Simpson? I mean, let's not go overboard.
No, not because of that. Because they were in the mire last season.
Yeah.
And having a bit of a rough time. They survived. And we went there at the last game and really boosted their confidence.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah,
it must have helped
that was
them.
that was a great trip.
So
Yeah,
basically,
got
when they... I was supposed to go to that game, but for various reasons I couldn't go. But the thing is, I think that they should thank us at the when they win the league. They should give us something like, I don't know, a decent player.
I think it's down to us, really.
It is. If the media's forgotten this, they talk about stupid things like our huge wage bill, the fact that our wage bill's aligned with Champions League sides at one stage. They should talk about how we help Leicester win the league. The fairy tale started with us.
Well, while we're talking about Leicester, it's Tony Fernandez's birthday on the 30th of April, so let's all have like free donuts and a free beer. That'd be lovely.
How old is he?
52.
I'll tell you another thing. The only good thing about Leicester being serious, I know this is a QPR podcast, but as our season is practically over, they're going to lift the trophy at the Swamp. I think that's hilarious.
Was that the last away game?
Yeah.
It's the last game of the season.
Anyway.
Okay.
Can you imagine?
Don't even ask for us to edit that out.
No,
because we are not. There's a little
That's
Easter egg
fine, yeah.
in the podcast for anyone that was listening there.
Can you imagine that Mr. Cunt turns up to see a game and he sees Leicester lifting the trophy and their £900 million superstars sulking little children will obviously go on a sulk afterwards.
I actually don't think they will lift it there because I think they'll have it sewn up a long time.
No, I want them to lift it there anyway. Just do it. It's like,
It's brilliant though because Ranieri was kind of just discarded by Roman Abramovich when he came in, so it'd be a brilliant story. It just added another little factor to the story.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the caretaker? Who cares? But I tell you what, it'll be funny because at the end of the day, it's a massive two fingers up to the Premier League, and it kind of shows with a little bit of know-how, the right scouting, the right team frame. I mean, Chris Morgan?
Wes Morgan.
Chris Morgan played for Barnsley, didn't he? Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, he was the nutcase, wasn't he? That just was very hard and you'd never mess with.
But I said he'd play for Forest, and he wasn't the player he is now. But it just shows you with everything in football is bullshit. Team spirit is what you need. Team spirit will get you everything in football, and sometimes that's what we need. And I think with people like Clint Hill falling at Rangers, we've still got people with a backbone on that, but we need to bring massive team spirit back to Rangers, in my opinion.
Okay.
Then we can win the Champions League.
That seems like a good time for us to go to David Bardsley, who with a bit of luck is on the end of the phone and speaking to us now. David, you're often outspoken and commenting on QPR on Twitter. So first question is, did you see the game on Friday night? And if you did, what did you think?
Well, I did see the game. And I think that, if you actually look at the game wholeheartedly, we scored a couple of decent goals. But, one would have to admit that, we're way off the pace as far as being one of the top teams in that league. I mean, I was a little bit surprised at how far behind we were, really, in terms of, pattern of play, technical ability. And don't get me wrong, we've got some great players, and there's no one more than me that loves this club. But sometimes you've got to look and say, they're not quite ready yet. Even if they were in a position to go up, they're probably not quite ready. But Middlesbrough were way, they didn't play fantastic, but you could see they had an extremely good pattern of play.
I think the feeling is here, we've just been talking about the game, is, the phrase a team of two halves was used in the almost going forward, everybody after the defence is developing nicely. We're kind of getting good midfield unit and good options, and Poulter's starting to pull it together up front, but the majority of the defence needs sorting out. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, the games that I've seen, there's really nothing coming from, I don't want to make it, that I played in a good era with two good fullbacks or three or whatever you want to call it, but Anua and Perch are simply not fullbacks, and you can clearly see that, when they got time on the ball, they don't seem to be able to pick out, 20, 30-yard passes into chest, driven balls, diagonals, it's very much simple, give it into midfield and let, Fowler do the work and Henry do what he's good at. But, for any great team to be strong and play from the back, then you've got to have two fullbacks who are comfortable on the ball and can play their way out of any kind of situation. And you can clearly see that's not the case. I mean, they're both centre halves, and you can clearly see that when time is needed, and especially in the game at the weekend. Anil was handling the ball like a hot piece of coal. And, you've got to have some ability. I mean, the guy has got a reputation, and he has come from, a couple of big clubs. I mean, absolutely huge clubs, but the follow-up doesn't appear to be matching, if that makes any sense to you. As far, I think Hall has had a reasonably good season, but I think he needs to be playing next to somebody who is very experienced, like Clint maybe, and Hall can do the dirty work and Clint can just clear up. But I don't think that's we don't really have the time to do that. And in this division, depending on how the clubs see things, it's hard just to bring on players through next to experienced players that maybe can only play 3 games a month, or they get burnt out. So yeah, I would agree with you that apart from Hall, I think that Anyella's not bad as well. He was pinging the ball all over the place at the weekend. He's not a bad player. I just think he's come into an unusual environment at the start of the season. Got injured, came back. The team weren't doing well, made some mistakes. But I think, given time, he can play. But I think you've got to have good fullbacks around you who are going to do their own work, which takes a lot of strain off the centre halves as well.
David, one player who does play in that position, who's currently out on loan, is Yoon Suk Young, and he's rated quite highly among the supporters. But he's never seemed to have been able to hold down a first team position under any of the managers at QPR. I just wondered whether you rated him or not in that position.
I haven't seen enough of him. I've heard a lot, and obviously you trust of opinions of people that are either inside the club or fans that you've had relationships with many years, and obviously it's a personal choice thing. Sometimes if he is a great player and he's playing in a team that's struggling all the time, sometimes there's no point in playing him if he's just going to get dragged down. And he's not going to be able to do the things that he just wants to do, which is to play football. And if we're in the Premier League in the top 10, I'm sure he'd be playing every week because it's not so much of a risk to play somebody. But I said it at the start of the season. There are mixed messages, and there always has been at the club this year, and I understand that. And I think Les has done a great job, and I was very pleased that I got to do an interview with him earlier in the year. But I know for a fact that when they lost to Preston, they wanted to set an example and send out a message to the league. And I think that losing that game for the club was probably, not losing the game and drawing at the end of the day, was pretty much an end to what people might have thought there was a slight chance that they were going to go for, try to make it into those playoff positions. So it's very difficult, I guess, for the young players to get opportunities.
David, you talked there about Les, that you think he's doing a good job. Tell us a bit more about that. His intention seems to be that he's almost trying to return the culture of the club back to those times in kind of the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, that sort of period, and before then, where it was a much more sensible club. It was about nurturing kind of young, hungry players from the lower divisions, have a good atmosphere around the club, not like the sort of more mercenary times that we've seen. You approve of the job that he's doing?
Well, when I did the interview with him, you can kind of pick out the things that he feels, and obviously the things that he tells me away from the paperwork is, that they're right on probably with what you're saying. I just think that some people may read into the way he does things slightly differently and may not take it too well. I mean, you just got to support.
When you say some people, do you mean supporters or people within the club?
Yeah, I think, because, when I wrote the article, I mean, obviously lots of people, want to have their, say, and that's the right thing, because that's what the game's about. And the people, anybody that pretty much is a true QPR supporter will pretty much understand where I'm coming from, because, if it's in you, it's in you. But I mean, with Les, it's kind of different. He has to do it more on a business front than from the heart, and I think that it's difficult for him the way he's tried to do that, because it was a mess at the start of the season. People were clearly not happy with, what was going on and how things were changing and what the setup was. But it really, really as fans, all you can do is stick by it. It works both ways. The QPR supporters have had it tough in the last 4 or 5 years. And, I don't speak up for them. I don't speak up for the club. I'm just a simple supporter that finds things quite strange. Yes, I run a QPR academy out here, and it's, the kids are QPR through and through, most of them. We have Europeans, Germans, French kids, we've got all kinds of kids from all over the world, and even they would find it strange sometimes when they look at the situation and say, just don't get what's going on with the youth. But, because people ask questions and they say, well, why are my senior players playing Major League Soccer at faraway places out of the state of Florida when there's a Major League Soccer club now in this town? And it's just unfortunate because of the politics and everything that goes on that it seems they have to go and play for clubs, thousands of miles away because of the silly politics in the game. But, I think that, when Jimmy came in, for me, it was a really good thing. I wrote about it and I took a lot of time to think about the things. And, he's the type of guy who has had a magnificent career, as everybody knows. But, Jimmy went out and did it the hard way. He got the mud on his boots. He got on the field with the academy. He worked hard. He picked up his badges here and there. I'm not saying badges make you a coach, but he got out there. And I kind of compared it to the Gary Neville situation, whereas, did Gary get the job from recommendation? Because certainly no experience at any level, and then he's the England coach, and then he's the Valencia coach. Yeah, he's never even coached a U18 team. And, everything catches up with you. And that was a little bit like, some would argue with maybe Chris, who is an extremely good coach, but probably best suited to working with U21 players or below. The same with Tim Sherwood. I don't really know, but these are guys that have done great jobs in academies in the past, and sometimes that's just not enough for you. And you have to know that in yourself and be proud to do the right thing. I just think that QPR made a mistake early on, and it's cost the club this year.
And finally, David, what do you think about the next few months? What are the priorities? Sort of see out the season and get ready for next one. And do you think we can make a serious challenge for next season?
That was a question that was asked at the start of this year. With the players that were at the club, I thought they were going to make a serious push for it then. There was 13 players left over from last year that played in the Premier League. And, that's when you started to have to ask questions, because the team they certainly weren't playing for the QPR shirt. And the tactics and the things that were going on around it, I don't know. But, yeah, I think now that they really need to finish off with a strong run. And I said at the weekend, QPR's business is to win games. And one thing that concerns me is that, just say they had have made it into the playoff positions and the club are not ready really to go up. What's going to happen then? What's going to start, turning it around? So it's really difficult. The club are not ready to go up. Are they ready to go up next year? The financial constraints that are on the club are tough. And, some people feel that they need to sit in this division for a year or so. This is not an easy division. You just don't even know where we're going to finish this year, depending on the other teams. It's just so tight. This is a nightmare league to get out of. And if you stay in it too long, it can become an impossibility.
Well, we know what happens if you stay in it too long. But
we'll
take your answer as a yes anyway. We'll take your answer as we're definitely going up next year. No.
Well, I'm the most positive person towards this club, and there's just no other way that I can be. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, I don't come over here and kind of spend the world on building a program with my own money. I think I think I'm the paid ambassador for QPR, unpaid ambassador for QPR that there ever was. But that's because I believe in the club and I enjoy what we've done. You know, I mean, yeah, I'm disappointed in some ways that none of my players managed to make it through the club, and I'm not so, and that disappoints me a lot because we've had 19 players go professional, and the two closest boys that are closest to me are both at Juventus.
Wow.
So. Well,
so who are they? Give those boys a shout out for anybody that doesn't know. And you've been on a few times over the years. You run an academy out. Is it Florida? You're in? You're out in Florida?
Yeah, I mean, you know, most people are fans of talk or follow the thing. You wear exactly the same gear. We train in exactly the same gear. We play the European professional teams that come over here at U19 age, you know, at the big tournaments. So, you know, we mix it with certain people, and it's been really good for the players here. You know, you just don't, you know, we have players playing at the Red Bulls, LA Galaxy, you know, San Jose Earthquakes, and multiple of the programs, let alone Europe. So it's been a really good thing. I think now that my own twins have kind of moved on, you know, it's kind of like, you know, I have to consider, you know, the future as well. And I think that I'm about ready to want to come back. And I've said many times before, I obviously want to come back and work at the club. I'm not interested in working with first team football, but I am in the academy because that's what I know. And that's what I do a good job in. So, you know, I've said that many times, and, you know, 10 years of hard grafting over here, and I don't really know what's going to happen for the future. I could end up in Italy. I really just don't know. It's too early right now to say. But, you know, the QPR Academy over here has been incredibly successful because people have taken a note. You know, as soon as those kids walk on the field in 2007 with a QPR kit on, which, you know, and we pretty much try to set an example for what the club's all about. And, you know, it has carried our players to amazing success through the whole, wherever you want to talk, Dallas, Texas, wherever we've played, it's been really successful.
I'll tell you one thing though, Dave. I look forward to the day that we can send the QPR side out there to get a couple of friendlies. So hopefully QPR can show their appreciation to what you're doing out there by doing something like that and get you back at Loftus Road so we can all thank you for being one of our best ever right backs. And you've been brilliant on the show tonight. And seriously, keep up what you're doing because we're all thinking of you over there. And hopefully we'll get some players coming back this way as well one day.
Yeah, that would be great.
Thanks very much, David. It's April. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon in Florida, so I imagine there's some rays that you need to go and catch. We'll let you go.
Yeah,
you're always excellent,
Thanks,
always
guys.
great value when you come on. Thank you very, very much, and please do come on again.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the invite.
Take care. Thanks a lot.
You too. Bye.
Okay. Whilst we're talking, we've got a very nice segue here, Paul Frick, not Paul Finney, to seeing as we were talking to David Bardsley in America there. Where are you from? South Carolina? South Carolina?
Originally, yeah.
How does a guy from South Carolina end up sitting in our block at Loftus Road?
I moved to New York, mid-90s, drums. I'm a bit rubbish on mics. So, met a girl. Wound up back in London, and QPR happened to be my local. So started going to games and kind of liked it.
Kind of liked it. So what era was this?
No, I was pretty psyched. It was just back 2010. So I just moved here in 2009. So 2010, I started going to some games. The first game, Swansea, Boxing Day, 4-0 win.
Oh, great goals.
Drop. I was sitting over next block, W block. Yeah, Trop's first goal I saw. That's pretty nice. And started coming back, and then got another membership. and then got a season ticket, and I've been kind of stuck ever since.
It's been kind of downhill from the 4-0. You must have thought,
Yeah.
wow, this is great.
we had Wembley.
Wembley was good.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. There's always...
Yeah.
As Americans say, and I'm sorry about this, and I'm not taking away, awesome. There you go.
Well, Wembley was awesome.
Yeah, I'd never say that word ever.
So you were probably like 2 years, 3 years into supporting QPR. Did you think that sort of Wembley thing happened the whole time?
No.
You
Actually,
must have thought, hang on, we won the league in 2011, then Wembley in 2014.
Fortunately, there's plenty of message boards out there which proclaim to the dire ups and downs of QPR, and so I caught it in the purple patch. And,
Were you into football in the States, or you just happened to?
No, I grew up playing until I got into drums, and then drums took over. But I always loved it. I was reel to reels of Pele when I was a kid, and I absolutely loved it. I always had fun. I was not very good, but I had a great time. And so I got over here, followed international. But when I got over here, and like I said, good fortune or misfortune, depending on the week, that QPR was my local.
Had you ever heard of QPR back home?
Never.
Okay.
I only knew about it when I started. I wanted to go to catch some football. My family was coming over from the States, and they wanted to see some British football. My nephew's big into English football, and so I had to find what was going on, and that was my local.
Poor bloke.
So you say you play drums?
Yeah.
We could do with a decent. Do you remember years ago? And I'm not being rude to say this. I'm not excluding you from this. Do you remember years ago the Blackpool drummer came down and he was brilliant. He wasn't just the old bang bang bang.
Like the Pompey one.
Yeah, no, he's better than that. He was much better than that. I mean, that was bang bang. He was doing proper tunes on his drums. We could do with a really good drummer.
You think we could do with a good drummer?
Yeah, not like
well, what do you base that on?
Someone like the guy that used to play for the Who.
It was a pun. Never mind.
No, I know. I ignored it, Dave, because quite frankly, you cracked a joke on the phone earlier on to me today that I'm still scarred from.
What was that joke?
I can't say in the podcast.
Okay. Well, was my drum joke a bit too symbol for you?
Right. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, if you would come down, you could bang out some decent tunes, and we could have like proper, like I don't know, decent drumming. We had a drummer years ago, but he was crap. And so we need someone decent to come in and do that. Somebody in our block, you could start some kind of like, I don't know, bit of Led Zeppelin type drumming. I don't know.
Yeah, I could maybe. Yeah. I'd have to go over close to the fence, but
we'll talk about this another time. We'll get some tunes together. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay. Ours
We can
End.
drum up the support. Now I'm going into his territory. Shite jokes.
Drumming up the support.
Yeah.
You could have done better than that, I think.
You can
trying to
talk.
think, yeah.
Not being funny.
Ours End.
Already?
We've already reached the R's End. Well, David Barnsley had a lot to say, God bless him. So that was 20 minutes, and you winding on about whatever you were winding on about was 20 minutes. And
Hopefully they'll edit all the crap I said earlier on. Won't you?
So, anything else we need to talk about? We should probably include Leeds tomorrow in this. We've got Leeds away tomorrow, and then we're at home Charlton on Saturday, obviously. Chris Mendes, what else would you like to add that we haven't already discussed in tonight's podcast?
Both former clubs of Hasselbank, aren't they? Leeds and Charlton.
Did he play for Charlton?
He did, yeah, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Middlesbrough, that we just played, 3 in a row.
Yeah.
I just want to thank Junior Hoylett for providing some great entertainment when
That was amazing.
Fell down the hole at Loftus Road.
Who was the other fella who fell down now?
Van Persie.
I thought it was Van
Yeah.
Van
Persie.
Persie. I
And
tell you
Alexis as well.
Because we were talking about this the other day on Friday at Rangers.
So I'll tell you why I remember that, because it was we were playing United, and it was Van Persie fell down it, and through work occasionally we get to do a few things with footballers, and as it happened, that was the week before probably like the sort of biggest football thing I've ever done at work, and we were getting Robin Van Persie to do it on the Tuesday after that game. So I was watching the game at Loftus Road, and he fell down the hole, and I was like, you fallen down the hole. And then I thought, and then all of a sudden it came into my head, oh my God, if he's injured, he's not going to do it on Monday or Tuesday. He's not going to do this PR junket thing. And he didn't do it. We got given Danny Welbeck instead.
Because of that?
Because he was injured in the game. He had to go off.
Yeah, I remember.
He had to go off from that. He fell down the camera pit and he had to go off.
Which is good.
Maybe he heard about the PI idea.
Yeah,
PI
it's true.
idea for,
You know that bit what you said about a minute ago about all the crap I was talking about for about 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Anyway, Have you finished, Chris?
Are you saying my story was bad?
No, I'm not. It's great. I've learned a lot from that story. Jesus.
Awkward. Anyway, it was funny, and the funniest bits were the videos of it. And I think you said on Twitter, didn't you, Chris? I thought Junior Hoylett had stopped going missing in the middle of games.
Exactly.
No,
But it seems not.
he should do the jokes.
He did. I was repeating his joke.
Sounds anyway. But the funny thing is about it is.
I'll end.
Yeah, sorry. Before we end that, do you reckon the linesman even noticed he was off the pitch at that point, or Lions person? He's probably gone. Oh,
he completely balls that up, didn't he?
oh, shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some crap. I mean, do you remember years ago when we played Spurs and Harpin Singh was in charge, and he started a little bit of a riot.
Another reference for
Yeah.
our younger listeners.
Oh, I
I
can't
mean, that
help
was
being
what, 1994?
David, I
22
can't help
years
the
ago?
fact I'm 46 years of age. I'm a little bit old. I mean, I was saying about this the other day. In 20 years' time, I wouldn't be able. I'll be like, I'll get in a lot cheaper, put it like that. Anyway, so you kind of like, but that decision is probably one of the worst I've ever seen at Rangers. It was so bad. It was incredible. I don't know.
For those who,
It's always
for our
bad.
younger listeners, explain this decision, the famous Harpal Singh.
Oh, jeez,
incident.
everyone he made was ridiculous. The guy, he was getting people mad who were librarians who would never get mad over anything in their life. And they were like wanting to riot on the pitch. He literally united the QPR fan base in a way that I've never seen anyone do. Incredible. He wanted every QPR fan to kill him.
But no one was that mad about that goal on Friday night because it matters more. That matters more to Middlesbrough, that goal, than it does to us now.
Do you know what? I think we've had the stuff and keep
That's
over
the
so many
problem, though.
times.
That kind of mentality is probably why we didn't get anything out of the game because, just switching off after conceding the penalty. If the result mattered
That
to
was
us, then
ridiculous.
maybe we'd be getting a few more results.
To be fair, I mean,
Yeah.
by the way, fair play to Middlesbrough for bringing somebody down on Friday night with Sky
Yeah.
being ridiculous in these fixtures. Because these Friday night fixtures, when you watch them on TV, they're empty. Do you know what I mean? It's a ridiculous idea. But fair play to it. My odds end is...
Oh, was that not your R's end? Carry on.
Okay. Is kind of Northern Ireland... American related, as in Washington. I can't believe I said that. That's such a Fraser joke. I hate myself for it. Washington. No. Anyway,
We're all wondering
Couple of
what the
weeks
joke
back.
was. Yeah, it was a few weeks ago. Carry on.
so actually cut that bit. That was shite. Anyway,
Don't cut it.
yeah,
Yeah.
you should cut it because that was just
Carry on.
No, that's business.
Carry on.
Is he? Like, I would have thought it's like the QPR fans. Can you think of another striker that scored for his country before he scored for his club?
At QPR.
Any club, anywhere. Because I'm sure Washington must be the only striker ever to score for his country first before his club. Gotta be.
Well, no,
But what do you mean, though? Because
And the club-
Massimo Luongo obviously scored for Australia before he scored for QPR.
No, but
You mean since joining?
yes, it's Jordan playing a game in a game for their
bet, yeah,
parent club.
yeah, you're right. Luongo hasn't scored for QPR yet, has he? Or has he?
What you're saying
And he
is,
scored.
yeah, no. Who's the last QPR player to score for a home nation? I don't know the answer. Was it Jamie Mackie?
Scotland, yeah.
Jamie Mackie scored for Scotland.
I'm pretty sure he scored for Scotland.
Did he? Oh, I don't
So
know
is he
that.
your boy now, Connor Washington?
I don't know.
Is he like gonna sort of fly the flag at the Euros?
Do you know what? I was quite impressed. Obviously, I'm biased, ridiculously biased. But don't look at your watch. I'm going to shut up in a second.
I'm looking at my watch because Gabe is like looking at me like I want to go home.
But I didn't recognise the player that played for Northern Ireland as the player that plays for QPR. He seemed to be given freedom on the pitch for Northern Ireland, and he was strong. Anyone who's seen the goal?
Was he playing up top on his own?
Yeah, he was at times. But what he did do was he knocked off two defenders, ran through, strength, pace.
He looked pretty
and
lively
Give
when
the
he came
keeper
on.
the old eyes as well, which is a great old goal, which some of the stand balls we've been proud of. Done well. Hopefully he'll go to Euros, score loads of goals, and next season we will benefit from that. And I'll give you some reports, Nice, Lyon and Paris, about how well he's doing. And by the way, I don't care that he's never been to Belfast before. Who cares? We were shite for years. It's nice to have a team that actually qualifies for things.
Pool number 2. This is the R's End bit. Anything that we're finishing the podcast very soon. So anything that you haven't yet said that you're aching to say about QPR.
And after this podcast, the podcast will be finished forever. Carry on.
I think Paul's pretty much summed it all up.
Something that no one has ever said about Paul Finney before.
I'm tired. Sorry.
You haven't tried doing the podcast with him for 5 years. Then you'll be tired.
I like that. You got no one you want to say a shout out to or anything? No family, friends, Ridgewell Windows, anything like that?
Ridgewell Windows and Doors, they do very good conservatories.
Some florist, did he florist?
Nah, forget florist.
Let's do predictions then. So Leeds tomorrow, Charlton on Saturday. Chris?
Leeds. I really hope we win that one because they're just such a lovely club, aren't they, Leeds? I think we'll get 4 points at least from those two games.
I think we'll get 4 points as well, in whichever order. So 1 win, 1 draw.
6 points.
Do you really believe that, though? As you're saying it, do you really believe it?
Absolutely. I wouldn't say otherwise. Leeds, I want us to hammer them so badly. I remember Brian Dean. We owe this to Leeds. This kicking's coming from a long time. And if anyone's listening from the club, we owe Leeds for Brian Dean. That's all I'm saying. We've got to stuff them. Thank you very much.
Paul 2.
Leeds, hopefully. They've been on a bit of a poor run lately, so hopefully we can pull something out of that. And Charlton, they owe us for that first game.
Yeah.
So what are you saying? 4 points, 6 points?
I want 6.
Okay.
I want 6.
Thank you very much for listening. A little footnote: Gabe, our producer, who you just sometimes hear us refer to. Really, we barely ever speak to him. Although we did mistakenly give him a mic a few weeks ago. You're off now to what are you off to do?
I'm off to Kos to work as a sound and light technician for a hotel.
Is that a front for something? You're not going to be ending up in Peru, are you? We're not going to see you on the news in Peru, a moment of madness.
I couldn't say, and to be honest, no one knows what I look like, so...
Fine. Go on. You may seeing as you've got a mic in your hand, you've got a podcast, haven't you?
Yeah, I do.
Tell people to listen to it.
I have a podcast at Going Shows. We've interviewed Danny Boyle and George Yao, who is a massive gamer, celebrity, and loads of interesting people. So go at Going Shows on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.
Have you really interviewed Danny Boyle?
Yeah.
The director?
The director.
About what?
About travelling. Nah.
Very good.
Oh, I'm impressed.
Going Shows podcast with Gabe, the guy who's using DJing or being a technician in Kos as a front for his South American drug running this summer.
Cheers.
And hopefully we'll be in the capable hands of Harry for the rest of the season.
Of course.
Anything else, Paul?
Harry, that's a bad omen, isn't it? Last time we had Harry at the end of a QPR didn't go so well.
Who do you support, Harry?
Everyone supports Arsenal, not fun.
Okay, thank you very much for listening to the QPR podcast. We will be back
Arsenal
next week after somewhere between 4 and 6 points from 2 games. Thank you for listening.
QPR.